everybody. Thanks for coming back. I'm here with Pascalain, and we were just talking about healthy hair.
Yes.
You know, and there's so many things that we do today. And if we go to a supermarket, we see these lines and lines of all the things that you can.
Very confusing.
They're saying do for the hair. Maybe a lot of time they're doing something to the hair. Maybe that's not so good.
Yeah, actually, it's very confusing for clients if you go outside somewhere and you buy a product, shampoo. I mean, the market is saturated with many products. You don't really know, and I don't really have a big advice there what to take, what to choose, whatever. I would definitely say my products are the best in the world.
Okay.
But
So
anyway.
and that's a point. I know when we were talking before, the first time we talked, you said something that really got me. I said, well, you're an artist. He says, well, I'm probably more of a technician, which is the point of learning the craft is really important. And it's not just shaping something. No. You got to have something to work with to shape it. And so,
if Picasso, for example, wouldn't have a technique, he wouldn't be that great like the way he was.
Right.
So he has to learn a technique, and only at this moment, creativity, or you can start something with your own creativity. Without the technique, it is impossible to be an artist.
So you've got to learn the craft.
So
you
know, for example, a painter or an architect or a sculptor or whatever, it's much easier actually for them than for us, our business hairdressing, because sometimes we are confronted with a material which is deteriorated. So it's damaged totally. Imagine a lady coming to me with long hair, and she doesn't want to have her hair short, but those hair are totally damaged and whatever. So you have to regenerate as much as possible. And there are two solutions. Or you cut it off, but it is not possible because you would like to maintain this client as a businessman, not only as a hairdresser. So you have to work it out. You have to analyze and to do something. And you have, as well, you need to behave in a way which is very professional. You have to know what you can do and what you cannot. Or you must sometimes say as well a very healthy no to some wishes. Like a lady would have damaged her hair and come to me and would want to make a chemical treatment which would damage her hair even more. I would refuse it. So and I would explain her that we need to build the hair up first and whatever, because the more your hair are healthy, the better our artistic work is going to be fantastic. I can be the best hair cutter in the world, but if the hair texture is so damaged, you will not see it.
Right.
And the person will not feel it, whatever. So you have to build it up. You have to improve hair texture. And nowadays it's really possible to do it.
And how do people hurt their hair, for example, by dyeing it too much or by
definitely
ironing it out with
okay, we are in the Philippines, and you certainly know if you, as I do, if you look on the street and you see all those children, I mean not only in the Philippines, worldwide, they all have very shiny, healthy hair, beautiful. The moment in which you arrive at a certain age and you start visiting hairdressing salon in a different way than when you were a child, so you start to do some chemical treatments and whatever. So most of the time their hair are getting slaps. Or you have now, even on the market, products with do-it-yourself, you know, like a color and whatever. And you ruin hair texture if it is not done properly. I am not an enemy of chemical treatments, but it has to be done properly. You need the knowledge how to apply it and whatever, not to damage a hair. So of course, a color, you can bring a color into hair, it's no problem. For example, I cannot imagine that a lady with a relative young age has to run with, let's say, gray hair.
Yeah.
So why not a color? Or why not other services, like a perm or relax or whatever. So there are many, many different chemical treatments. But always, if possible, please respect, don't damage hair.
Don't damage. You know, I was going to ask a question. You know, when I was growing up, I have curly hair, you know,
Yes.
and ladies, when I was growing up, always got perms, you know, because they wanted their hair to be curly. And then all of a sudden, perms are out and straight is in. What happens when you straighten curly hair? Does that damage the hair?
Yes, it is a chemical process.
Yeah.
It is a chemical process. So you use chemical products to work it out. So one hair, whatever, is straight, you want it curly, or you want it
use chemicals to do that, right?
wavy, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so accordingly, you use some accessories, what you call a curler or whatever, or you are straightening a hair, whatever, to get it really slick, and whatever the effect. But you have to use chemical products for it. And this, if it is wrongly, if you apply it wrongly, you damage hair. It's like now, let's say we are talking about hair color. For example, you have a certain hair color, and the darker you are, it is difficult to change your color. So you are jumping to a process which is called using bleach. So to just get even from black to white, but really, you know, careful. So, but you really damage hair with that. And if you do process over process or whatever, so you practically burn your hair texture. And there are two things: or you cut it off because it's ruined, or you have to do something else.
I had heard once that hair models, their hair gets really ruined because they're doing things all the time to it.
Absolutely. And they are in those businesses as well, changing very often their hairdressers.
Right.
So which didn't know, the one didn't know what the previous one was doing, and it's sometimes really awful.
And so how do we know if our hair is, I mean, dandruff is one way to know that you've got a problem of some sort.
If it is healthy or not?
Yeah, if you're healthy or not.
Straight away you feel it.
Yes.
A hair has to be really smooth, must be silky, and must be just beautiful, must reflect the light, the daylight, or you know, whatever kind of light.
Well, here's a good point for you then. I know that you're married to a Filipina, right? And as am I. And we know that Asian hair is a different texture from Occidental hair, right?
Yes.
How do you have to attack? I hate to use the word attack, but when you're going, doing a do or making some sort of treatment, what are some of the things that you have to take into account, say, on Asian hair versus Occidental hair, or a mixture?
The reaction of all different hair types according to ethnicity is different. So you have to know it. This is again an experience that you have to learn. But the rules are practically the same.
Really?
So you have to, first of all, to respect hair texture. It's exactly like if we are talking about healthy hair, you have loads of differences between now hair care products, from really the low and until really, really high level ingredients, which can provoke or bring or improve hair texture and so.
So someone really, if they wanted to, and I think people do care about their hair. I mean, men do as well
it's
as,
very important,
and women do as well, and that's why you have a business, right?
Yes.
It would be best then probably if a lady or a guy or whatever stayed with the same hairdresser always, because they would have as long as it was working for them, you know.
Yes and no, but yes and no. You know, I think most people are reacting a little bit, in average, I believe, that a hairdresser can be something like a doctor. So once you have a certain habit, a confidence, I mean, and you trust the person you are dealing with, so then it's probably easier. But yeah, I mean, you know, you always have people who are bringing new stuff, whatever, and women are changing more, I would say, than men. A man is more in general, I believe, more loyal to a person he has.
I really want to have, if I find somebody that's doing the hair, when I finish it, I can comb it just with my fingers, and it lasts for 2 weeks that way. I don't want another.
2 weeks?
I don't know. I don't want another.
4 to 6 weeks with me.
No,
Why
no,
are you
no,
not
I'm
coming
about
to
6
me?
weeks.
Why are you not coming to
I've
me,
only
Larry?
just met you, Pascalain. I was going to get a haircut for today's show, but I couldn't find a hairdresser.
You see, thanks God you didn't do it.
But going back to, you know, we talk about chemicals, and I think that maybe we don't think of shampoo as a chemical or conditioners as chemical, but they are, aren't they? They're how do we choose a shampoo? How do we choose?
It is for me extremely difficult to say, because, as I said, you have it's like in the car industry. You have something with 4 wheels, and it brings you a little somewhere. On the other hand, okay, I don't mention names probably, but I'll do. Here you have a Rolls Royce, you have a Ferrari. What a different feeling! And this is exactly like this with everything in many different fields. So if we are talking about hair care in general, a shampoo, a conditioner, and other things, it is exactly the same. You have low ends. Some companies, they want to make a mass shampoo. They are not spending a lot of time, or I mean, they are not spending expensive ingredients to make a shampoo, because they're going to say, okay, this is a cost, or we want to remain with a certain cost level, whatever everybody should afford, and they're going to produce something accordingly. But those low-end products can produce some huge problem, not necessarily to your hair only, but as well to your scalp. Creating, for example, if I take the very first simple problem, dandruff.
Dandruff, wow.
For example.
Some of us almost died from it, you know.
It happens.
It's
perhaps.
Yeah. No, I mean, dandruff really is a problem, isn't it?
It is a huge problem.
Yeah.
It is a huge problem.
And so finding the correct... But you were saying that you don't need a dandruff shampoo.
No,
you need a healthy shampoo, right?
Yes. I mean, it's like this morning you were asking me about the frequency of washing hair and treating hair. You can wash your hair as often as you want. So let's say you can, if you really like, wash daily your hair. It's no problem. Nothing wrong with that. The only thing you should avoid is to use bad products, because you are taking something away from your scalp, from your hair, from your skin, which you have to give back. And mostly it's moisturizing. So if the protection, the natural protection is gone, you have to give it really back, or to avoid creating problems. So if possible, you have to use very good product. So I understand that not everybody would do that, but this is an investment which is important in a way, because you want to do something good for your body. It's a little bit like you will not eat whatever. You're gonna try to keep your body healthy. So you're gonna see what you can take, what influence your body positively and not negatively. So
what we want to be doing is, whatever we're doing to our hair, we don't want to be doing any damage. We want to be doing it right. How, here's a good, I mean, a question just off the top of my head, a psychosocial sort of question. How much of the result of going to get a do is that emotional boost that you get from feeling like, hey, I just pampered myself and it feels real good? For women, that is the difference of them coming back to see you again or not coming back to see you again, right?
Yes, I mean, you know, this is a kind of education that you, in your attitude that you have. If you want to get the best and to maintain the best, you have to learn to have a certain discipline. So that is something what I would explain to my clients, to come in a rhythm of 4 to 6 weeks. If we are talking only about maintaining a healthy hair and having always a perfect hair shape, even if you want to have longer hair. I mean, if you work in a very precise way, and I would like to take fears from all women in the world, so if you your hairdresser is respecting your own wishes and cutting really extremely little, minimal. You call it, I think, in English, a trim, whatever. For me, it's never a trim.
Yeah.
It's always a haircut.
Yeah,
Even if I cut that much or that much, I have to touch every hair ends. So for me, it's a complete haircut. The trim doesn't exist for me.
Okay.
It's always a haircut.
I see.
Completely.
And but you just said something really interesting. You said 4 to 6 weeks. I always thought that the ladies, really had to need to go over and get a do once a week or something like that. They don't need a do once a week?
It depends if it is somebody would like to have a special hairstyling. So hairdo, you say to
me, I do, I guess.
Whatever. So of course you can visit your hairdresser, but cutting your hair need to be cut every 4 to 6 weeks, not earlier. Or you have, for example, now a person who would have extremely short hair, want to maintain it that way, a man perhaps more, then maybe he's doing it somehow a little bit earlier. If I'm talking about 4 to 6 weeks, it's average.
And this is for you need to cut your hair.
Yes,
every 4 to 6
it has
weeks.
to do.
What's the reason for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. There is a phenomenon that you have, like in the ends, like a kind of wearing out of the ends. So you certainly heard something like split ends.
I was going to ask you, can you explain what is a split end?
Yeah, in a longer hair, you can imagine that hair grows 1 centimeter every month. So let's say a year is going to bring you 12 centimeter of length, which is so probably something like that. Every month a centimeter. So now this hair at the end has been washed and treated many times. It's exposed to environment as well for a much longer time than what actually is there on the basic, right? Not calling it roots, because roots is underneath. Okay. Many people, I got to make my
your roots are showing,
It's not roots, it's a regrow.
Regrowth,
okay?
Right.
So then to maintain it really full, you have to cut those ends, even if it is really millimeters. You cut it off, and your hair appears to be so different. But as your hair grows 1 centimeter every month, that's the way I can reach a certain hair length and different proportions if requested for a certain design. There's no problem with that.
Wow.
So, but you have to know, again, technique.
What?
Imperative.
I guess my question is, what is your weapon of choice? It's scissors, right? You do everything with scissors.
Personally,
there was a big thing back in the 60s. They were doing what, for men, they were called razor cuts, and they were 60s and 70s. They would use a razor, for cutting.
It's still existing.
Are they still doing
nowadays?
that?
It depends all. Let's say the choice of techniques that you want to do. I am personally really against it because let's say, how can I explain that? You see one single hair with a microscope. Let's say one single hair represents my finger.
Okay.
So a razor is not a clean cut necessarily. It's going to,
sliding across.
Normally they are cutting with some movements like that, and then it's not a scissors is very straight. It's very clean, and you see it in the effect. Also, if you cut hair at different hair length in the whole, you cannot retouch with the next haircut the hair were already cut. So it's not necessarily something I like to do.
So the scissors is your
I like
main,
to create clean. It's not. I mean, we have so many different hair effect, from layered to straight lines and whatever a certain design is requesting. Now you have to adapt a certain technique, but everything is possible only with scissors. This is my personal thing. I really respect other people's work, doing as well with razor or whatever, but I personally don't like it.
Okay. Listen, I'm one of those cranky guys that when I go to get a haircut, I tell them don't don't get out the electric razor. I want only only scissors.
Yeah,
Please
right.
don't mess around with a razor with me at all. I just want to have scissors, you know.
Ooh.
And because I don't want them scraping up, you know, my hair like they used to do in the military.
No, but the texture, honestly, is so different. If you use different techniques, it feels really different. I mean, even in the Philippines, I mean, I was cutting already hair of a few gentlemen and who are used to go to barbers or whatever. They are feeling, because of the right hair care products and the way you cut hair, oh, what a difference. Even with very short hair, you really feel it. And the feeling is different for them.
Well, again, I think I guess that was the crux of my question. Of course, the healthy part, your hair is healthier than it was. But maybe that feeling of, hey, I just pampered myself and that made me feel good as well, is part of that as well, right?
It's so funny, but
of well-being, I suppose, or.
Exactly. It's so funny, but I use very often the term, if I explain something, you're gonna rediscover your own hair. Even you must imagine now, you see, I give an example, a lady now would be 45, 50 and more perhaps. So can imagine that I know my hair. I know how it feels, I know how it is and whatever. And I got to say, no, you don't know. Because I know how I can improve it. And then, only then, I will make you rediscover your own hair.
And that goes back to that point of, you know, when I was talking about before, of getting the confidence of your, being able to say that but not seeming to be domineering, I suppose, is part of the bedside manner.
Yes.
I don't say bedside, but I mean,
right. I mean, I cannot shake someone.
Because some people do that. You know?
No, I will make a brainwash.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an attitude. You have to have the right attitude. You have to talk. If you feel sometimes mostly with women, more emotional is coming out. This business hairdresser can sound very like a banality. You know, if I'm next to a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or whatever, you might feel what is hairdresser. It's nothing, but it's very important.
Well, I think another point too is, we talked about this earlier as well, you don't get all your ideas just from hair, right? I mean,
Again, sorry.
You don't get all your ideas for a hair just from hair, right? You develop them from, I seeing architecture or
yes.
Maybe the creativity doesn't just come from
No, creativity can come from whatever. I mean, I just walk my eyes open in the nature, and a fish with colored an animal or a plant, a flower, or whatever, inspired me always for some creativity, for colors, for texture, for whatever, architecture. Vidal Sassoon, for example, he wanted to be actually an architect, which is very parallel to what we are doing, because we are building up the way we work has the logic of geometry, architecture, and everything. And only this counts, and only this is valid for me. I understand this business only that way.
So, yeah, and so this is where we're going back to what we talked about in the beginning. You can have this desire and this passion to be a hairdresser, but you also have to have the techniques and the skills and the craft. So you have to work, and then you also have to learn how to make sure that you have a healthy product to work with.
Yes.
And so
that's why I personally I had this problem. How am I capable of improving damaged hair textures in a very fast way, in a better way? Because you can be, again, I repeat, the best artist in the world. If your first material, meaning hair, is not healthy, you cannot do anything. So it doesn't work. It looks, and that's why the psychological aspect, you have to have the right attitude, that your client is trusting you and you give you the chance to build up your hair. And then you're going to see then everything is going to be perfect.
You know, God, I wish we could talk a while longer, but we're out of time.
I believe you.
Thank you so much for
You're
coming.
You're very welcome.
And
it was a pleasure.
hey,
did
I tell you we were going to have a fascinating time? I sure did. And thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your homes. It sure wouldn't be any fun without you until I see you again next week. Straight ahead.